Good evening, everyone. It's Anifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I would like to talk about part 3 of the 3 parts that I mentioned contribute to or lead us to accumulation or the habit of accumulation. And again, accumulation can be either physical, mental, or emotional. And so I've talked about comparison and fear in the previous couple of videos from here. And today I want to talk about competition. And I thought I'd start with this first beautiful quote, which is by Zen Shin. And it says, "A flower does not think of competing to the flower next to it. It just blooms." Again, a flower does not think of competing to the flower next to it. It just blooms. If we think of each of us as our own flowers, right, we can just bloom. Yet, what we find in society, and I'm sure all of us have been caught up in this in some time, in some effect, in some way, is we might compete. So we look at the flower next to us and think, I'd like to be like that. And then we start competing in some way. Sometimes consciously, sometimes not consciously, unconsciously. And certainly our education system really encourages this, right? Lifestyle really encourages this. Our social networks really encourage this. This is, you're better as long as you're moving up, right? And if you're moving up, you might be pushing out someone who's in that position before you, right? So that's workplace. And then of course we know that school, always trying to get the top mark, or at least I was. So maybe some of you might be like that too. And this is not a healthy energy because it really doesn't allow us to just completely bloom ourselves. So I thought I'd share a quotation that's a little bit of a deeper concept, but really does cover this well. And it's by Swami Vivekananda. And this quotation says, "If there be no eternal life, still the enjoyment of spiritual thoughts as ideals is keener and makes a man happier, whilst the foolery of materialism leads to competition and undue ambition and ultimate death, individual and national." That's a big quotation, so I'm going to read it one more time. "If there be no eternal life, still the enjoyment of spiritual thoughts as ideals is keener and makes a man happier, whilst the foolery of materialism leads to competition and undue ambition and ultimate death, individual and national." And this is so much in this information, in this quotation, to understand that, once we start allowing the space for spiritual growth and development, it's a very different experience where we look at things more from a cooperation rather than a competition perspective, or we can. And this, I believe, benefits from a mindful attention because, again, if you think about, we've been growing up and growing through life with this background direction or push towards being better and better than the next person to us, right? So that sort of idea. And since we've been brought up in that for so many years, and certainly our parents have taught us, their parents have taught them, and we're probably teaching the children that are coming after us the same sort of styles, it really loses something. Because when we look at, why are we trying to beat the person next to us? Because maybe we want a higher salary, maybe we want to be seen as better, so we want a little bit of fame, perhaps. Maybe we want to gain something, right? That is just a little bit higher than the next person. And that's the whole point, is why does it have to be higher than the next person? Higher than the next person is really that competition and comparison, right? And this idea of this competition leading to undue ambition and ultimate death, I don't know if you've noticed this around you, but I certainly do see people working themselves into the ground, literally, right? So this is, and they feel very capable and they're very pleased perhaps with the material nature that they might be able to acquire. But I can't say that even in that acquisition of those material experiences, that there is a happiness that I've seen in people that have lived that life. And let's say when we're thinking about individual and national, it's the same thing, right? So one country wants to beat another country. One country wants to get a little bit more space, so it starts imposing on another country to take that, as that's fine too. And we do this individually and nationally and internationally too, right? Even in terms of water, if you look at the waters, the oceans of the world, and how different countries will say, well, this is my section of this water. And there isn't this sense of cooperation for basic human needs even, right? So that's when we think about lakes and rivers too, same idea, right? That this is on our land, this is ours. And really, in terms of cooperation, is don't we all want survival, right? So this is a thought I will leave you with today. So at least this contemplation that you might be able to do from this. I wanted to also read this quotation by Edsger Dijkstra. I'm going to say it's probably Dijkstra. And of course, write these quotations under this video. This quotation says, I mentioned the non-competitive spirit explicitly because these days excellence is a fashionable concept. But excellence is a competitive notion. And that's not what we are heading for. We are heading for perfection. And this is interesting, right? When we think about people competing with each other, oh, this person was excellent in this job, or this person was excellent in this test, or this person was excellent as a student. And we've got these comparisons, whereas this other was not, right? So this was really poor and this was really excellent, right? So that sort of idea. When we're looking at perfection, we can look at each individual and see that they're unique in their own experience and what they can contribute to our experience. This is, we are interconnected this way, and we can actually look at perfection rather than excellence, and there's a fine line between the two. But I'll let you think about that for a little while, because I'll say, if we strive for excellence, and I believe lots of us have heard of that and perhaps have done it, and excellence is beautiful, right? As long as we know that it will change, because whatever our excellent today is, someone else's excellent will be better tomorrow than our excellence today. So this, again, breeds more competition. Now we can keep on going back and forth and keep on competing with each other, yet it's not really bringing out perfection, because what happens, some people get underhanded about it, some people get greedy, some people get dishonest. So that's that mindful awareness of what happens when a person is striving for excellence at any cost. When a person is striving for perfection, it's usually very centered. It's a very centered space of, this is who I am, this is my perfection, right? And first, we have to understand that about ourselves before we can understand that about others too. So finally, I thought I'd end on kind of a humorous note, because I find that, we can get so serious about these things, and really there's a lightness about it too. So this quotation is by Ann Landers, and this quotation says, anyone who believes the competitive spirit in America is dead has never been in a supermarket when the cashier opens another checkout line. Have you all seen this? I'm certain that was going to say most of us, but I'm going to say all of us have probably been in that situation where you're in one checkout line and it's the only cashier that's open, and then one person opens right beside it. There's this big rush. And so many times, the person who is at the front of the line that's moving slowly, or is a longer line to begin with, wants to be the next person in that space. And the person at the end also wants to be that person, and that's very competitive. And of course, we know that there has been kindness, and maybe you've expressed this sometimes in this experience too, that to let other people go through instead of yourself, even if you were technically the next person in line. Either way, I want you to know that competition is alive and well, not only in America and North America, in the world. Competition is alive and well. Are we striving for excellence, or are we striving for perfection? I hope you're striving for perfection. I'll try not to stumble on these words. I hope you're striving for perfection. And I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.